Thanks, Kate. Good afternoon, everyone here at Pioneer and those of you online. Delighted that everyone has joined us for this, our final session on the Innovator stage. And today we have Constantina. Great having you share the stage with us today, Constantina. You've been primed up to share some really interesting experiences that you've had over the last while in terms of scaling your operation. So we're really looking forward to hearing about your AI journey. But maybe to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about Synthesia and your role there?
Absolutely. So Synthesia is a AI video generation platform, and that sounds quite daunting to people. In layman's terms, we create video. We create video really quickly. We've taken away the need for all these lovely camera people here today, studio production teams, and we do this with avatars. So we have a large number of avatars that we've made available to our platform, but we have also opened up the opportunity for people like yourselves to create your own AI avatars, your own likeness, your own voice. So you create engaging video within minutes. We've created this platform in a way where anybody can use it. You don't need to be technically savvy. You don't need to have a degree in production. You can literally, at the light of speed, turn all of your text into video and engaging content, because we know that people, customers generally, they don't want to be fed. I call it death by PowerPoint, right? So how many times have we sat in front of a really long presentation or a really long onboarding session where somebody has walked us through a lot of text? We have transformed that into the form of a video with our AI avatars, and that's been quite revolutionary for many customers. I am the head of support for Synthesia. I have the honor of leading the support teams who do a variety of things, really. So we troubleshoot, we answer general inquiries, but more importantly, and we'll talk about this a little bit further into the session, we are in a really good position now where we try and empower customers, and we have the time to be able to showcase to customers how to make the best use out of our platform. So yeah, I look after all of that.
Excellent. It sounds great that you're working for a company that's obviously in such a state-of-the-art type of world and really kind of growing at scale, which I know you're going to touch on later on. You yourself have quite a unique path into customer support, yes. And I'd love you to share a little bit about your career path and how you've come to be a leader in the customer service space.
Yes, I'm here completely accidentally. I had a really strong passion for psychology. I really love studying human behavior, how different people interact with different, or react to different situations. And I accidentally find myself in a sales role. And sales is quite tricky in itself. It took me a good 6 months to really truly analyze how people react to these sales pitches, how people buy different products, and came up with a little bit of my own psychological algorithm, should I say, of how to influence those customers and that behavior to really buy into that product. And that's when I realized that actually I can do this long term. I can coach people to understand how humans interact with each other, what triggers customers, what doesn't trigger customers, but more importantly, really take these support interactions a little bit further than assumptions. So we make assumptions in support. Well, the customers aren't happy because we said no, and that's what the process says, and that's what we're going to follow. It goes way above and beyond that, and I've got this general curiosity of analysing these interactions and understanding what drives customer behaviour and how we can make it better.
Very good. I love the fact you mentioned curiosity. You obviously are curious. You have a mindset that really wants to kind of learn and understand what's happening. And I assume that has driven you down this kind of AI-first strategy.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about what impact that has had for Synthesia, the fact that you've adopted AI-first as your customer service strategy.
Yeah, the numbers are incredible, and we've got some of them here. I am a very data-driven person. I don't like to chuck numbers at people. However, what we've done here with Fin and automation generally has been insane. In April of this year, we were seeing anything around 40 to 70,000 customers would seek support in one way or another on a platform, whether it be the knowledge base, raising a customer support ticket, trying to get answers on our website. In August alone, we saw an excess of 300,000 customers trying to reach our platform. And that's a combination of things, more so the fact that we have evolved our product and we've had some really amazing releases recently that has driven that traffic into support. Realistically, and it was mentioned earlier, that was a 690% increase in customer contact, in customers trying to reach us in one way or another. And I think me and Kate did some maths at some point, and that would have been about 150 people that I would have had to just find overnight. Finn dealt with it. Our knowledge base dealt with it. And that to me is insane. Our team has remained in the same little team that we've had from the get-go. They're still managing the amount of content that we feel still comfortable for them to manage. And that hasn't impacted our customer satisfaction. That's really important to me. So automation is great. All of these numbers are great. Finn resolving 50%, 55% of what we get is amazing. But what's the customer sentiment? And I think that was really important for us. So when we first launched Finn, we noticed that our customer satisfaction was about 90-95%. Finn's customer satisfaction was about 30-33%. So at the time, you're thinking, oh, okay, we are seeing some incredible results. However, what will that mean for our customers? Fast forward to today, we've more than doubled Finn CSAT, and we're continuing to fine-tune that to try and get it to match the customer satisfaction that we can provide from a human perspective. And I'm really confident. I think we'll do it.
I love those results. I mean, the scale that you've been able to absorb is just amazing, and I think many businesses are trying to understand how can they scale their business and scale their support in a kind of an affordable way, and you've obviously applied AI to do that, but you haven't lost the focus on that customer experience and ensuring that you deliver the right experience for your customers, whether they're dealing with the agent or they're dealing with a human. So I love that focus. Now, clearly, incredible results, but I'm sure they haven't come easily. I'd love maybe to talk through some of the challenges that you had in implementing AI across your team and how you approach that.
Yeah, many. Make no mistake, it is very easy to implement Finn, I suppose, but there are a lot of things that you would have to tailor this process to fit your own business. The top two for me, though, we'll start with the first one, which was me naively thinking that we have the best content, the best knowledge base, like we can go live with this today. And therefore, when we were having the conversations with Intercom to start with, and of course, we're an AI company, we do really drive AI first, we wanted to go live in your beta phase. And I very, very quickly realized that actually that's not going to happen. So we started testing Finn. We didn't want to just go live. You do want to understand what that means for your customers. And we started noticing that Finn was really contradicting itself. And that was because our knowledge base was contradicting itself. So as we were evolving the product, we were evolving the knowledge base, but it was very obvious that we weren't doing that in one cohesive way. So we had to strip it all back. I had to be able to justify the hiring of a new person to be able to manage this big piece of work without being able to evidence what results is this actually going to bring. And that can be quite a challenge for people. How do you onboard a new cost to the business, a new team into the business without being able to really, truly evidence what results this is going to bring? And people had a lot of faith in me, I'll be honest, had a lot of faith in the platform, had a lot of faith in Intercom, and we thought, yeah, let's do it. So we never joined the beta because we weren't ready. We had to go back, analyze all of the inquiries that were coming into our support function, what type of questions our customers asking. It's really important to think, and I think it was mentioned earlier today, sometimes customers try and achieve an outcome with a single word. Sometimes customers try and achieve an outcome with a question we wouldn't even thought about. So we had to test and trial, redo our entire knowledge base, which is also what drove these results. Had we not recreated that piece of work, even to this day, we would not have been able to generate these types of results. Finn is only as good as you, as productive as much of the information that you put into it. And I say to people, if you want your humans to be really productive, and you want your support people to be really productive, and offer the best possible results, you need to put the same amount of energy you do with your support team as you do with AI. It's not a piece of content that you can create, let go, and it'll just continue running itself. So that was the first thing. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. I can't drill that enough for people. The second thing for me, and I think it has really been covered today, but it was genuinely something that we experienced, my team's hesitation to go ahead with it. And the reason my team were hesitant was because I'm sat there selling the dream. We're going to automate everything. 80% of it is going to go, it's going to be automatic. You don't have to think about it anymore. And people are thinking, okay, so what about my job then? If you're going to automate all of this material. And that's when it triggered that, okay, we need to take a little bit of a different approach here. Customer support will always, in my opinion, exist. The way in which it exists will start becoming different. So I had to really spend a good amount of time with my team explaining to them why we're implementing AI and why we're looking to automate things, and how we believe that implementing this will actually add further value to them as our team members, rather than devalue what they do, or not, them not having a job at the end of it. So it's been quite a journey, but we are where we are today. So all good work.
You've hit on two things I'm very passionate about as well. Like, one is ensuring your team are on board with what you're doing and why you're doing it. You got to be very intentional about what you're going after, and then the whole kind of knowledge piece as well. Like, at the end of the day, AI is only as good as the knowledge you give it access to. So you got to feed the beast on a constant basis with the right data for your business, so you can answer questions. So I love those two kind of approaches or challenges that you addressed. You focus a lot on your team, obviously, but what about customers? How did they react to effectively you fronting your support with an AI agent?
Yeah, so in all of the sessions today, we've looked back in time, and I do the same here. Automation, chatbots, workflows, they're not new to support functions. I have been in the industry for a very long time. Part of my biggest objective in every single business has been, how do we automate? How do we make this better? And every single time I would notice that, yes, we'll automate, we'll create all these workflows, but customers would meet this level of automation in a very negative way. And the reason customers, in hindsight and all of the research and data that we've analyzed, the reason customers would see this so negatively is because it just wasn't intelligent enough. It wasn't intelligent enough to meet your needs at that first point of contact. And therefore, every time you're going and you met with that level of automation, you're thinking, oh, not again. Okay, let me just press all the buttons that I've pressed before that got me to a human straight away. The shift I've seen now is quite remarkable. So I've gone from a place where I'm analysing all the bad interactions we've had with customers because of the level of frustration they had to go, even if they had the best service in the end, the level of frustration they had to go through to get to that point doesn't outweigh the interaction they've had. So they've given you a negative response. To customers now thanking Finn for its service and being so grateful for the type of response that they've had. So I think we're not just seeing the shift in the way we are supporting customers, but we're also really seeing a shift in how receptive customers are to this level of automation and this level of AI in their interactions. And just like everybody else today, we make it very clear that you are currently serviced by an AI bot. You're not serviced by a human. Yet customers will still, knowing that, be so grateful for the level of service they received.
I mean, it's great that your customers are recognizing that it is now a very natural interaction compared to previous technologies, and that a lot of time they are getting a really valuable response. So it's great to see your customers acknowledge that. That's a really, really good kind of position for you to be in. We're going to go to Q&A in a few minutes, but one more question before we go there. Like, you've been on this journey. Have you a piece of advice that you give to anyone who's either about to embark on the journey or they're kind of part way on the journey?
I think a lot has been covered today, but the number one piece for me is involve your teams. Your teams, and that's something that's a lesson learned from me, because I started this journey, and especially the Fin journey, very much in a, okay, this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it, and then I'm just going to get my team on a call, and everybody's going to be excited, and this is going to be a happy ending. And it wasn't necessarily the case at the time, because I was met with that friction. And I feel as though you have teams in place at the moment that, maybe are a little bit fearful of AI or what AI is going to bring to their customers, to their own working life. And also, more importantly, you have customer representatives or teams that interact with customers at the moment on a daily basis. So involving them in this process and making sure that they're part of this journey and what it is that you're trying to achieve is actually quite critical, not in just getting their buy-in, but making your journey so successful compared to what it would be if it was just yourself doing it. So think team, that's my advice. Yeah,
I think it's very sound advice, spot on from that point of view. We have our first question. It's from Taz online from a company, Revolut. Knowledge content seems to be a big part of success with AI. What skill sets should the team member in charge of optimizing content have? What would you choose between a generalist versus a specialist? Interesting questions.
Very interesting question. Look, when we started the knowledge-based piece, I feel as though this can vary from business to business. For us specifically, we were looking for an individual, and we do only have one individual, a little bit like Natalie. Jess, I need to mention her. She's been an absolute superstar. We were looking for somebody that had, the things that you would like to see in content, the attention to detail, being able to interpret the content in a way or produce the content in a way that it's understandable to anybody. ChatGPT, Fin, it can handle really complex information, but realistically, your customers will not always choose that route. They won't always choose to speak to your team or your automation straight away. And therefore, we were looking for individuals that are able to simplify your product, understand your product, be in line with your culture and the ethos of your business, and be able to translate that into material that customers can just access and understand and use as they wish, or your automation utilize it and it be in a way that's actually productive for the customers that are using it.
Very good. I think that focus on content and knowledge is absolutely critical. Again, to give a perspective as well, as well as having someone in charge, we actually outsource or insource a lot of the content creation to our support team. So we tap into their knowledge. And to that question around being a generalist versus specialist, over time, as Fin answers the more general questions that come in, by default, your team are becoming more specialists in whatever your product or service is. And we tap into that team and basically insource a lot of the content creation, but it's managed by our kind of knowledge manager who's managing the whole strategy, the whole process. So I think it's definitely a big focus area for anyone on the support side. Do we have a question from the floor? Anyone here would like to ask a question? We have a roving microphone. Yes, there's a question at the front here.
You said involve your teams, but how do you involve a lot of people who are also busy answering cases, conversation, dealing with customers, being afraid of the AI bot? It's in our team, they do report when they notice that Fin is not doing well, but it's occasionally. How do you involve the team proactively to basically prove Fin in how it's doing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Look, I've led teams of 20 people. I've led teams of 120 people. Realistically, you can't involve 120 people into this process. And that's when you really start kind of finding your advocates. finding the people in your team that are really standing behind this, that really want to spread the love within your team and really honing the message that this is for the greater good. I think in terms of Finn, we're quite fortunate. My team will proactively report back and say there's issues with this response or we can do better here. But have your champions, select your champions, go through a bit of a selection process, make it a bit of a competition. Really just ignite that fire in people, because I think sometimes with teams, whether it's AI or a different process that you're looking to launch, people sometimes get tired of change and sometimes need something a little bit more as a motivator. So I have in previous businesses identified champions across the business or across the teams that really stand by whatever processes that you're launching, in this instance Finn. And I think you can't possibly have a really big team or a really large number of people advocating for what you're trying to achieve, but you can have really critical people across your team that can enable you to do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. Having those champions is really important. And also giving people credit for getting involved in other than conversation or casework. Like, they got an attribution for that, so I think that's really important as well. We have another question from our online viewership from Gasser in Instabug. In your opinion and experience, has Finn advanced and improved your company's ability to pinpoint customer pain points faster than if you were just relying on human interaction with customers? If so, have you any kind of case examples?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Absolutely is my answer. And the reason behind that is because, and I mean, for us, it's also grouped with the fact that we've had immense growth in the last few months. And therefore, the amount of data that we have access to now is incredibly different to the amount of data that we had before. The teams tend to think about what they deal with on a daily basis, and it's more of a gut feeling.
Got it.
I feel like this is what customers are experiencing. What do you think is the worst thing customers go for now? Well, I think this is there. Whereas with Finn, the data's there. Yeah. You can tell. It handles a mass amount of issues on a daily basis. We're able to categorize those automatically, and very quickly I can very easily see, okay, this is how, you can map out what your issues are, and you can actually, if you wanted to, like, really dive into that data and make meaningful change. So absolutely is my answer.
Excellent. We can take one last question from the floor if anyone has a question.
Hello. I'm interested in hearing more about that period of really rapid growth and like the support team volume increasing. So you mentioned Finn played a major role. Can you talk about how you dealt with potential backlogs and then like what role Finn played and the timeline of all of that? I'm also at a company experiencing some major surges of growth.
Okay. My answer to you might not be extremely helpful because I didn't have to deal with the increase. Finn dealt with the increase. Because we had Finn configured and implemented already, because we saw that increase pretty much overnight. So we went from July, we had about 70 to 80,000 customers kind of going throughout our website and our knowledge base and Finn and whatever other tools we use, to the end of August at 300,000. My team only dealt with 1.7% of that. So we didn't have the backlogs. We didn't have to get all hands on deck. It was almost looking back at the month as you do, you look at the performance and thinking, oh, this can't be right. I even raised a ticket with Intercom to say, hey, your reports are broken. Like, we did not experience this level of growth. And we did. So I think for me, it's more about, very often you plan or you forecast about the next few months, maybe the next quarter. I think realistically, we're in a space now where it's not just AI that's growing rapidly. Generally, businesses are growing rapidly. So account for that. Put your platforms through those tests and just check how could your system deal with it. And if it's not dealing with it, address the core issue at that time before you reach that level of scale. But yeah, I've got more on that, which I can talk to you separately. I can talk about this all day.
Constantina, thanks for those insights. We've had some really interesting questions. I think you've provided a lot of really in-depth views of how to handle scale using AI, so thank you for that. But one last question before we wrap up. Like, what is your vision for the future for AI in customer support? So where do you see it really going?
I am so excited. I have been in support teams for such a long time, and I think, this is well and truly the time where I have so much vision for these support teams. And the reason behind that is because we now have the time to allow these teams to be the best teams they possibly can be. We've gone from a team of people, really intelligent people, by the way, a team of people that are task-based, same questions, repetitive questions. Question comes in, you answer the question, you move to the next one. And more often than not, it's the same type of issue and question being recycled, to now empowering people to think about, well, what does premium support look like? How can we service our customers in a way that they've never been serviced before? How can we involve customer support in those really critical sales conversations, customer success conversations? How can we address the customer pain points in real time without having to say, oh, great question, Mr. Customer, we'll get back to you on that one. So I'm just really excited to see my team. Support teams are fantastic, but I feel like they're now finally in a place where we can truly explore their potential and what they can achieve, not just within the business, but for your customers. I can't wait.
I love that. So it's really about transforming the value that the team have back to the business. So I love that. Constantina, thank you for all the experiences that you shared with us today. It's been great having you on stage here at Pioneer. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Kate. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.